They spent years pretending I didn't exist while using my hard-earned money to fund their luxury lives. They thought they could erase me from the family picture to impress a bunch of wealthy strangers, but they forgot one very important thing. The roof over their heads didn't belong to their pride, it belonged to my bank account. The moment I left a 10-word comment under their perfect family photo, their fake world shattered in front of everyone. My name is Carla Houston. I am 29 years old, a senior financial risk auditor, and for the last 4 years I was the invisible bank account that kept my family from living on the street. My family's dynamic was simple. My younger sister, Sienna, was the golden child. She was glamorous, married into a prominent real estate family, and posted pictures of designer handbags and luxury vacations every single day. My mother, Brenda, idolized her. Meanwhile, I was the quiet daughter who worked 60 hours a week in corporate finance, drove an old sedan, and lived in a simple downtown apartment. To my mother, my quiet lifestyle was an embarrassment. What my mother and sister never told anyone, especially Sienna's new wealthy in-laws, was that 4 years ago my father lost his business, leaving them over $200,000 in debt. They were 90 days away from losing their 4-bedroom suburban home to a sheriff's foreclosure sale. Desperate and sobbing, my mother had come to my apartment back then, begging me to save them. 'Cause I loved them, I stepped in. I didn't just give them a handout. I signed a formal third-party guarantor contract with the lender, taking over their $84,000 mortgage back pay and setting up an automated monthly transfer from my personal account to cover their property taxes and mortgage installments. I asked for only one thing in return: respect and honesty. Instead, they treated my financial rescue like a dirty secret they wanted to hide. Tonight was my parents' 30th wedding anniversary party. It was a massive catered event hosted at a high-end country club, paid for entirely by Sienna's wealthy in-laws to celebrate the distinguished Houston family. 2 o'clock this afternoon, while I was pressing my dress for the party, my mother called me. "Carla, don't come tonight," Brenda said, her voice clipped and devoid of any maternal warmth. I froze, holding the iron in my hand. "What do you mean, Mom? Party starts at 6. I bought my ticket weeks ago." "Sienna's in-laws are hosting, Carla," Brenda said coldly, letting out an impatient sigh. "They are very high-class people. Prominent bankers, board members, socialites. You don't fit the image we are trying to project tonight. You look like an accountant, you drive a cheap car, and frankly, your presence is going to bring down the room. Just stay home. We'll save you a slice of cake." Before I could even process the cruelty of her words, she hung up the phone. I sat on the edge of my bed in the quiet apartment, the sting of her words burning in my chest. I looked at the dark TV screen, feeling a cold, heavy stillness settle over me. For 4 years, I had poured over $2,000 a month into keeping their house safe. I had sacrificed vacations, new clothes, and my own savings so my mother could hold her head high in her neighborhood. And my reward was being told I wasn't presentable enough to stand in the same room with them. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply put my dress back in the closet, poured myself a cup of tea, and sat at my desk. 7:30 p.m., my phone chimed with a notification from social media. I opened the app. It was a picture posted by Sienna. The photo was taken in the grand ballroom of the country club. My mother, father, Sienna, and her wealthy husband were all standing together under a banner of white roses, holding champagne flutes, smiling radiantly. Caption written by Sienna read, "Celebrating 30 years of love and perfection with the people who mean the world to me. Family only." Red heart sparkles. The post already had hundreds of likes and dozens of comments from their wealthy friends praising their beautiful, perfect family. Quiet, dangerous calm settled over me. I looked at the words "family only." I looked at my mother's beaming smile, the same woman who had taken my money 3 days ago to cover the biannual property tax bill. I tapped the comment section. I typed out a single sentence: "Congrats! Now the mortgage and taxes are all yours." I hit send. Then I opened my online banking portal. I navigated to the automated escrow distribution system linked to my father's mortgage account. I clicked Revoke Guarantor Agreement. A warning pop-up appeared on my screen. Warning: revoking this agreement will trigger an immediate default notice to the primary borrower due to outstanding tax liens. Clicked confirm. 5 minutes passed in absolute silence. Then my phone exploded. The screen lit up with a furious, non-stop stream of incoming calls. Call from, Sienna, call from, Dad, call from Sienna. Within 4 minutes, my screen logged 30 missed calls and over 20 frantic text messages. Sienna, Carla, delete that comment right now. Sienna's father-in-law just saw it. What did you do to the bank account? The lender just sent an emergency default text to Dad's phone. Answer your phone. Suddenly, the original social media post disappeared, deleted entirely. I set my phone face down on the desk, leaned back in my chair, and took a slow sip of my tea. They wanted a celebration without me. Now they were going to get the full bill. The heavy, suffocating noise of my ringing phone echoed through my quiet apartment for nearly 40 minutes straight. The screen glowed continuously in the dark, flashing red with dozens of missed calls, urgent text alerts, and voice messages. But I didn't reach out to answer a single one. I sat by my floor-to-ceiling balcony window with a hot cup of tea, watching the city lights flicker in the rain, letting the deep, unbroken silence wrap around me like a shield. Precisely 9:45 p.m., the tranquil silence of my hallway was shattered. Heavy, rushing footsteps echoed against the hardwood floor outside my door, followed by a violent, frantic pounding that made the door frame rattle. Carla! Open this door right now. I know you're in there, my mother's shrill, panicky voice screamed through the thin wood. I set my teacup down slowly on the glass coffee table. I didn't rush. I stood up, smoothed down my sweater, walked over to the entryway, and quietly turned the deadbolt lock. Standing under the harsh, fluorescent lights of the hallway were my mother and my younger sister, Sienna. Both of them were still wearing their expensive silk evening gowns, but all the glamour from their social media posts was completely gone. Their hair was messy, sweat was ruining their heavy makeup, and their eyes were bloodshot with pure, unadulterated panic. Sienna shoved the door open and pushed her way into my living room first, her designer phone clutched so tightly in her hand that her knuckles were white. Are you completely out of your mind, Carla? Sienna shrieked, her voice cracking violently with a mix of rage and terror. Do you have any idea what you just did to us? Arthur's father, my father-in-law, saw your comment right in the middle of his main dinner speech. He literally pulled out his tablet and started asking Dad uncomfortable questions about our family's assets in front of 50 high-profile guests. My mother stepped in right behind her, slamming my front door shut. Her face was pale, contorted with anger and humiliation. You embarrassed us, Carla, Brenda yelled, pointing a trembling finger at my face. You deliberately ruined our 30-year wedding anniversary. And then you went into your online account and canceled the lender's guarantor authorization? Your father just got an automated emergency notification that our house has been flagged for immediate tax foreclosure. How could you be so wicked and malicious to your own flesh and blood? I stood near my dining table, resting my hands against the back of a wooden chair. I looked at both of them with complete composure, no anger, no raised voice, and not a single trace of guilt or hesitation. I didn't embarrass you, Mom, I said, my tone smooth, quiet, and as cold as marble. You embarrassed yourselves the exact moment you decided my money was good enough to pay your mortgage for 4 years, but my face wasn't good enough to stand in your anniversary photo. Sienna took a step closer, tears finally breaking through her heavy mascara and running down her cheeks. Carla, please, she begged, her voice dropping into a desperate sob. Arthur's family is extremely conservative about money and social reputation. They pride themselves on honor and financial status. If they find out Dad's house is going to a public sheriff's auction and that you have been secretly keeping our family afloat, Arthur's father is going to pull his major commercial investment from my husband's firm. My entire marriage and my future are going to fall apart tonight. I looked at my sister, watching her struggle to keep her fake world together. Then maybe you shouldn't have built your marriage and your social media presence on a foundation of lies and my hard-earned money, Sienna. My mother lunged forward and grabbed my forearm tightly. Her fingers were trembling. The arrogant, condescending tone she had used on the phone at 2 o'clock this afternoon was completely gone, replaced by pitiful, degrading desperation. "Carla, sweetie, please," Brenda wept, squeezing my arm as tears streamed down her face. "I was wrong. I admit it. I made a terrible mistake when I told you not to come tonight. I was just so stressed about making a perfect impression on Sienna's new in-laws. You know how unforgiving high society can be. Please, just log back into your banking portal right now and reinstate the third-party guarantor agreement. We only need 6 months. Just 6 months until your father resolves his commercial debt." I looked down at her hands on my arm, then looked straight into her crying eyes. I gently but firmly unclasped her fingers and pushed her hand away. "For 4 long years, Mom, you took over $2,000 from my personal account every single month," I said, laying out the raw truth with chilling clarity. "I gave up buying my own condo. I gave up going on vacations. I worked 80-hour work weeks and took on weekend auditing contracts just so you could live in a 4-bedroom suburban house you couldn't afford, driving luxury cars and pretending to be wealthy socialites. And when I asked for nothing more than to sit at a table and celebrate your anniversary with my family, you called me an embarrassment and told me I didn't fit your image." "We were wrong, Carla," Sienna cried out, bringing her hands together in a desperate plea. "We're sorry. We'll delete the post. We'll post a brand new picture with you in the middle. We'll host a huge family dinner tomorrow night at any restaurant you choose. Just fix the bank issue before Monday." A soft, sad smile touched my lips as I looked at my sister. "A fake social media picture won't pay off your defaulted property taxes, Sienna," I said quietly. "And I am officially done paying to be an invisible extra in your manufactured life. Carla, if you don't reinstate that loan guarantee tonight, the bank is dispatching process servers to hand-deliver the formal eviction notice on Monday morning." Brenda screamed, completely losing her composure and clutching her chest. "Your father and I will literally be thrown out onto the street. We will lose everything. Then I suggest you stop screaming in my hallway and go home to start packing your boxes," I stated plainly. I walked over to my front door, pulled it wide open, and pointed out toward the corridor. "Get out of my apartment." "Carla, please," Brenda begged, dropping to her knees near the doorway, sobbing hysterically. "Don't do this to your own mother. You made your choice at 2 o'clock today when you uninvited me," I said, holding the door steady. "You said I didn't fit the family image. So from this very second, you can pay for your image yourselves." Realizing that no amount of fake tears or emotional manipulation was going to break my resolve, Sienna's panicked expression suddenly twisted back into pure, venomous bitterness. "You're a miserable, jealous monster, Carla," Sienna spat, grabbing our mother by the arm and pulling her up from the floor. "You were always jealous of my happiness, and you just waited for the right moment to ruin my life." "No, Sienna," I replied calmly as they slowly stumbled out into the hallway. "I didn't ruin your life. I just stopped paying for it." I pulled the door shut, turned the heavy deadbolt, and listened to the sharp click of the lock echoing through the foyer. The pounding on the wood continued for another 10 chaotic minutes, accompanied by muffled curses, desperate crying, and empty threats, until finally their unsteady footsteps faded down the concrete stairwell and disappeared into the cold night. I walked back over to my living room, sat down on the comfortable cushions of my sofa, and picked up my warm cup of tea. For the first time in 4 exhausting years, no automated financial transfers were pending from my hard-earned savings. Crushing financial and emotional weight that had been breaking my back for years was completely lifted. I took a slow, deep breath, leaned my head back, and smiled in the absolute beautiful peace of my own home. Before we wrap up, I want to share a quick personal lesson from today's story. At the end of the day, this situation teaches us something very important about boundaries, self-respect, and the danger of enabling toxic family dynamics. True family love is never conditional on what you can financially provide, nor should your dignity ever be sacrificed to protect someone else's fake status. When you continuously sacrifice your own well-being to fund people who treat you like an embarrassment, you aren't helping them, you are enabling their arrogance. Carla's journey reminds us that setting firm boundaries and walking away from ungrateful people isn't selfish, it is essential for your own peace. Never let anyone use your generosity as a footstool while hiding you in the dark, because real self-worth begins the moment you stop paying for other people's disrespect.